So as far as, do you believe that commodities in general are a good long-term investment from here? Like talking about oil in particular, agriculture, which we've had a very nice trade on DBA, which is an ETF that tracks agricultural commodities. We've done very nicely with that so far this year. Oil, I think, could be good longer term. Obviously, it's been in a downtrend. It's been suppressed with obviously, the pandemic. But then you've got the Biden administration who will no longer provide subsidies for fossil fuels, and they're more about renewable energies. But I still think oil longer term would be a good investment. And I also think agricultural and commodities in general would be a good longer term investment. What's your view on oil going forward, longer term?
Well, the one thing I have to say about commodities, in the very long run, say if you look at the last 200 years or 100 years, commodities are not a good investment.
Yes, they've been a downtrend for a very long term.
But they have periods of time when they go ballistic.
Yes.
Say oil in the 70s, gold, silver in the 70s, wheat, corn, soybeans between 1969 and 73. And then in the 1990s, you had from time to time a bull market in things like coffee or cocoa or wheat and so forth. And then we had a huge bull market in commodities between 1999 and depending which one, 2008 and 2011. So 2008, oil peaked out at $147, but then it collapsed within 6 months to 30. You understand?
Yes.
So commodities, they can have these huge moves very quickly.
Yes.
Because in some commodities, the demand stays stable, but shortages can develop. Say there's a freeze in Florida, then most of the orange crop gets destroyed.
Yeah.
Or you have a sickness in swines, then maybe a pork shortage occurs and so forth. So some commodities can go ballistic. As we've seen recently, from the beginning, from approximately June today, lumber has gone ballistic.
Yes. Yes.
And oil has also recently gone up strongly from the lows last April.
Yes.
They're still below the peak. And you asked me about oil. Yes, I agree with you. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about climate change. I'm not denying that maybe it's good if we do something and save on energy and have a, kind of carbon dioxide reduction in the world. But the question is really, do we reach or do we attempt to reach a carbon dioxide free world by producing actually more carbon dioxide? You understand? If we build batteries, if we build windmills, if we build solar panels, it also requires energy.
Yes.
If we build bitcoins, the cryptocurrencies use a hell of a lot of energy.
Yes, sure.
Then it's kind of funny that people who propagate electric cars like Musk go and buy bitcoins that actually defeat the purpose of reducing the fossil fuel consumption.
True. Yeah.
So there are lots of things. And the clean energy guys, as an example, within 3 days that Mr. Biden was elected, he canceled the Keystone pipeline. And the oil that flows from Canada to the US
Yeah.
will now not flow through a pipeline, which is nowadays the most efficient way to send oil from A to B.
Yeah.
It has been replaced by putting the oil on railroad tanks.
Goodness me.
On the railroad called Union Pacific, owned by Warren Buffett. Now you get the picture of how the system works.
Yes.
It's not the small guy who's making the money.
No.
the
No.
crony
Yes.
capitalists.
Yeah, 100%. They can manipulate the system however they like. But yeah,
Yes, correct.
I
That we
certainly
have
take
to
the point.
realize.
Yes, definitely.
So I think oil, for me, it's come back a little bit into favor, but I can show you charts that show the oil component of the S&P is at the lowest level ever. So in other words, you take the S&P, has say a market value of 80 trillion. Oil is now at the lowest as a percent of that 80 trillion.
Why
So
is that?
it's statistically extremely depressed. And you know, we have this kind of environment, corporate governance, and so forth, BS. The institutions, some of them, they will no longer buy oil stocks. They're actually forced to sell them because the trustees is another group of completely useless people, like government officials and people that work in compliance. They're bureaucrats that are completely useless in any business, but they are telling you how to invest money and so forth. So they say, no more oil stocks in portfolios, no more coal stocks. This is even more hated than oil, when nowadays actually coal can be used to generate energy at practically no pollution.
Wow. Yeah, very interesting.
Actually, coal stocks are, in my opinion, even a greater contrarian play than oil.
Yes.
But you know, most of your viewers and listeners are in Australia, and to that I just want to say, you look at two markets that are incredibly depressed relative, you know, as compared to the S&P 500, compared to the Nasdaq or whatnot. Australia and the UK come out the best. They're very depressed. They have reasonable economic fundamentals.
Yes.
In the case of Australia, they're actually quite good. But they are very depressed. And if you want to be in the sectors to participate in commodities, the best is to own Australian dollars and Australian stocks.